Welcome to 1984, a new episode, a new story, a new life. We are back with our usual format, just audio in this time because we believe that in several countries people is coming back to normal life, thanks God, and they will not have time to listen for live podcast. So today we will talk about conspiracy theory. And we will do it with Ilya Yablokov. Hi Ilya, how are you?
Hi, what's up?
Yeah, I was just introducing the topic of today, so conspiracy theory. I think that you are an expert because you investigate this with your research at University of Leeds, and of course I'm interested in this time. Of this pandemic crisis around the world, of the spreading of this conspiracy theory, who is the first initiator of this pandemic. China is accused, but also other, for example, the Italian agency for Secret Service today and yesterday, they released 2 reports about the spreading of conspiracy theory in the form of fake news, and they said that this is very dangerous for countries as Italy that are very weak after this pandemic crisis, and with the people that is quite affected by this crisis. So my first question for you is how is let me say created and then put in a magic box a conspiracy theory from the theory, let me say, from the basic.
So how conspiracy theories emerge and why they emerge, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the time like that, like the pandemic, for example, it's an extremely stressful moment. And so in such moment, people tend to react, based not on the ratio, but on other triggers, as you know, because you're expert in psychology. So you can imagine that one person, let's say, in 20th century, she's sent home. She's been sent home by the employer with no job in the next couple of months, with no income, probably with the perspective of being unemployed for the next couple of years because the economy is in recession. And she opens, let's say, Instagram. And on Instagram, she follows some, celebrity or whatever, a pseudo expert, like let's say in health, whatever. And then so there is a moment when such experts kind of create ideas that are going against the let's say the trend, the kind of the mainstream scientific decision or solution. And as a result of it, the person might actually pick up one of those pseudo alternative readings of, let's say, the coronavirus pandemic and start spreading it among people. So that could be one option. Second option could be that in general, kind of in the last 60, 70 years, our world was kind of moving from a pretty clear borders, a pretty clear notions to the society which is, well, like, let's say, the European Union and the globe itself is kind of borderless. And what we've noticed with, let's say, the postmodernist term and with all those ideas of the global internet, global society, there are a lot of people who are concerned about the state of where we are as a civilization, as a society, and lots of them, for example, are concerned about their nations, their communities. And so for people like that, ending up in the situation when they have to be under lockdown, when they distrust authorities and distrust to authorities and to experts in general, this is another trend of our life. And then there is another factor, which is subjectivity. The mode of subjectivity in which the Western civilization exists nowadays, which basically says, hey, I think you're right, but this person's opinion, although this person is not an expert, this person is right too. And so kind of people are kind of ordinary people, random people. They are offered multiple choice of experts, of knowledge, of opinions. And what really matters is what will ring the bell, what will be likened by an individual. And what the individual is going to like, what is the level of critical analysis, critical thought of this individual, is really what we don't know. But what we do know is that there's another factor for why conspiracy theories during the pandemic are so prevalent. Look at the mainstream media. The mainstream media is another thing that is kind of the icon of current conspiracy, global conspiracy culture. Very few people really trust the media. I mean, there are millions still who consume the BBC content, the CNN content, the New York Times content. But we just named kind of the major media. However, lots of the quality media that were around, let's say, 30 years ago are now struggling to find grounds because of the money, because the quality press is suffering. And so it's gradually replaced by social media, and social media are not checking their sources. They're not checking whether a certain media outlet is publishing trustworthy material.
Yeah, well, I would like to focus on this point in the second moment. So
yeah. Well, I'm done basically. You get my point.
Yeah. I would like to confirm my opinion. I'm not expert of conspiracy theory, no, but as we discussed off the records, I investigate neuropolitics, no, and neuropolitics is let me say connected with big data and artificial intelligence, and also the spreading of certain news. But my belief is that the conspiracy theory is not a new phenomenon, no? I was trying to read also some of your papers and of other colleagues of yours, and I saw that hundreds of years ago we had also the spreading of conspiracy theory. So I would like to ask you a question to confirm my opinion. So the main source, according to me, of conspiracy theory is within the humankind. What do you think about? So is in the nature of the humankind?
Okay, elaborate on that. It's too abstract.
Can you repeat the question, Ilya? Sorry.
It's too abstract. Could you develop on that? Because
I think that the humankind always search for something new, or even something more sophisticated than the realities offer. No, for example, now about this coronavirus. No, lots of people do not believe that this was created by a nature. So is in the nature to the spillover, from animals, from animal to people, to human, and they try to believe that was created in a laboratory and then spread with a specific purpose. So the humankind try to search always something different, something more complicated than the easiest version. No, so
that's generalization, right?
Yeah.
So if you say that they've been around forever, I would say, well, maybe, but we really don't know. We don't have data from, let's say, 4 millennia ago, right? 4,000 years ago. We don't know whether people believed in conspiracy theories. But, well, definitely there were no conspiracy theories, because the form of conspiracy theories, the pseudo-scientific notion of hypothesis, which is based on the assumption that there is a secret force working behind the closed doors, behind the curtains, is the invention of the modern time, right? Which doesn't mean that people did not believe, did not fear of conspiracies, right?
Yeah.
People in ancient time, in Greece, in Rome, There is a great book by Victoria Pagan about the Roman conspiracy theory, so beliefs in conspiracies in the Roman times. There is a book by Joseph Roisman on the rhetoric of conspiracy in ancient Greece. So people did believe and did use conspiracy, the notions of conspiracy, the accusations of plotting against their opponents back in a day, like a long time ago, right? And so that was used mostly as a rhetorical instrument to destroy reputation of opponents, right? To highlight the importance of defending the motherland, let's say, or the city, the polis in ancient Greece, or the Roman Republic, right? So this was used by politicians, by prominent citizens of this state entity. Now, if we think about the kind of why people believe in the fact that there might be a conspiracy behind coronavirus pandemic, it's a slightly different environment for that kind of fear. It's very different from the one that ancient Greeks experienced, right?
Yeah, of course.
And it is based not only on this kind of the willingness to kind of blacken the reputation of somebody, right? Of the Chinese, of the Americans, of Bill Gates, etc. It is based on the culture that we as I don't know, as people living in Europe, but basically it applies to all nations more or less across the world. It's globalization, right? It's a global village. We live in a very kind of unpredictable but complex times when we really don't know what really defines the politics, the changes. There are so many different factors that influence our life, the decisions we make, the governments that make decisions, right? We might be okay as a nation, let's say, during the financial crisis. If you remember in 2008, Russia was doing pretty well in terms of kind of financial situation. But then the markets were collapsing in the US, and the Russians were saying, hey, it's nothing to worry about, right? It's America. It's not going to hit us badly, right? Like in 2 months, it hits Russia really badly, right? Yeah. And kind of keeps on hitting for another year or so until the end of 2009. So kind of how a person, an ordinary man, without any exclusive access to the power brokers in this world, kind of tries to make up a mind about what is going on, get a head around it, and that's a very good and kind of problematic situation for kind of understanding. Ontologically, it's really difficult, right? And then people kind of, when they think about this pandemic virus, on the one hand, they can say, kind of imagine, all right, it could be some spill of virus, and you know, it's pretty kind of from the sanitary point of view, it's a pretty dirty place, these markets, and so the chances that some kind of crap can emerge from that, well, that's possible. I do believe that it's a natural virus, right? And the second reason why I believe that, I don't have the kind of the alternative evidence, right? And if not, I don't have alternative evidence, I'm not going to trust any alternative sources. Why would I, right? But then other people, kind of when they think about it, some of them would be just kind of more prone psychologically to believe in conspiracy theories. And it's a completely different topic. Why human psychology kind of pushes them to believe it, right?
Yeah, I'm investigating in somehow in these days. I'm trying to investigate why. And this is connected with the reaction that we have with some part of our brain. application of neuroscience to politics, also to the spreading of certain news. I was investigating this for the Trump first election, and now in the second presidential election, for that we'll have in November in the US. And certain parts of the brain.
But let me finish. I haven't finished. So and then people also keep in mind that our culture is basically penetrated, or in a way based on this notion of kind of secret forces working, because kind of we grew up watching action films. We grew up reading books about espionage, about secret agents, about crimes, right? So it is in a way it's a part of our cultural code, if you wish, right? And then so kind of this mentality, in a way, that we can watch it on the screen and we could be fascinated by the plot, by the picture, by the way how actors play. But then when it happens in reality, we might actually make some parallels to films, because in a way at some point we all felt like we are living in a zombie film, right, at the very beginning of the pandemic. And so we would be like, yeah, well, in this film we watched that, well, why it cannot happen, right? So there are multiple factors for that. And so that's why kind of people would be leaning towards, let's say, beliefs in conspiracy theories. At the same time, Russian case, right? There's been some research on what people believe in terms of the pandemic crisis, and the majority of people in Russia, according to this poll, actually stated that the virus is artificial, which actually brings us to a very interesting point, whether this belief is the result of, let's say, 2 decades of propaganda by the state media, of which spread conspiracy theories in the first instance.
Yeah, I agree with you, because several of my students ask me, like, what do you think about the creation of this virus? And my answer was, okay, take this book, a great book, Spillover, that explain how a virus as the COVID-19 spread in the environment, and so on. So, but now even in Russia we have also, but in Italy, also in Spain, I have several contacts. People is believing about this conspiracy theory about vaccination and so on. But what I wanted to tell you before that, why people need, let me say, biologically and psychologically of a conspiracy theory, because in a certain moment, as a big crisis, and as you say, all the great conspiracy theory are spread during a big crisis, financial crisis, or let me say when there is the risk of an international war, or even now in the pandemic. There is the confrontation, because our brain react better to negative news than positive. So to install a negative news, a negative, let me say, emotion, is easier than to install in our brain a positive. But to get a positive reaction, I mean not like a positive emotion, but a positive reaction from the point of view of the source of this conspiracy theory, let me say, we need to push with negative emotion. So to ask an action, for example, in this case, can be to keep spreading this or sharing this on social network. We have to push with negative emotion, and this negative emotion will have as a reaction a positive action, that is the spreading of this news. So this is the, let me say, the scientific neuroscientific basis of of the conspiracy theory. I want to come back on something that you were discussing in the very beginning about the position of social network, especially Facebook. If you remember, Zuckerberg some month ago said that I will not intervene, I will not put a filter for what is concerning like people regarding the presidential election, no political election. He will say that everybody can share whatever they want. I will be neutral. This because it's based on the allegation that was connected with CA, with Cambridge Analytica of some years ago. But I want to ask you, why this position, according to you, with political news and fake news and so on, and why a new position concerned with related with coronavirus? If you see now, certain news are filtered and they have like some kind of web certificates. No, if you see that on Instagram, on Facebook, they ask if you're not sure, please do not share this news. But even on WhatsApp, there is the news filter that you cannot share with more than one contact and so on. Why this, let me say, dual policy from your point of view?
I don't think so. I think that there's been some time since the investigation in the Congress on the presidential campaign in Cambridge Analytica, and now, personally, I think it's a matter of business prosperity for Zuckerberg, because for Facebook as a huge transnational company. I do think they took it really seriously when they've been interviewed and when basically they were found guilty in a way, helping to spread misinformation. So now, in order to protect the business, I think it is important for Facebook to also kind of protect how they run their business. And I think it's they realize that the power that social networks and their businesses, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook have, and that's why they they changed the approach, which I think is for good. I think the number of people they've put. I heard the rumor. I don't have this kind of factual information, right? That they do have several kind of groups of fact checkers who sit and basically monitor the network and kind of trying to block unverifiable information, misinformation, fake news, etc. However, I don't think that they're working really well, because I personally was banned with one cartoon I've posted, which was mocking conspiracy theory. But either it was kind of human decision or algorithm, it didn't really kind of work well, because it really didn't read this tongue-in-cheek message, you know what I mean? And then this is kind of one thing. But the second thing, okay, imagine, and you know better than me, right? Psychologically, if you spread, let's say, if you try to debunk fake news, right? And if you repeat it, and if you try to kind of dissect it into pieces, what is the chance that people are going to believe that your debunking method? No matter what people read, they will still stick to their opinion. They will stick to their preferences, their values, they say. And if I'm saying that what they believe is wrong, the chances are that people will believe in what they believe much more than I want them to, right? So it means that just kind of attaching the label of fake news to some post will not make people believe less in that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it is a very kind of efficient strategy. Although I don't know if you've seen, but Twitter started kind of introduced yesterday, I think today, kind of they attach fact-checking websites to what Donald Trump tweets.
Yeah. This was
right?
this was announced some months ago, but then they delay because of the coronavirus, and then in this let me say final rush to the presidential campaign, they attached. I think yesterday it begins, or Monday, if I'm not mistaken. I have just
we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how efficient it is.
Yeah. From my point of view, it's very interesting. I will investigate this because it's quite interesting. Because I'm going to investigate the second round, of this Trump campaign because of my studies. I have two questions just before to give you for other stuff that you have to do. The first is that, according to my point of view, as also expert of international relations, the multilateral world is dead. And to gain positions and to gain power at international level, now the conspiracy theory and the fake news are a very good weapon. I would like to know your opinion about this.
Well, it's a good question. It's a very complex question. I've been studying Russia Today, RT, as part of my interest in conspiracy theories. Because RT is a great example of how one state can employ conspiracy theories for the foreign policy goals, right? As one of the instruments of foreign policy. And it is quite an interesting way of engaging in international relations, of negotiating maybe, or adding the power to the existing, instruments, to the existing assets. And it is quite an amazing development of the post-Cold War period, when, let's say, the first decade after the Cold War in the 1990s, it was certainly dominated by the U.S. But then what we see a completely, multipolar world in which first, states like China, states like Kuwait, and the Middle Eastern oil tycoons basically intervened and started changing the landscape. But then what we see in the 2010s, it was Russia's time. And Russia kind of intervened with their own agenda, part of which is based on conspiracy theories, various conspiracy theories. So kind of genuinely Russian conspiracy theories of these conservative values, right? But then at the same time, they kind of reshuffled the global order by saying, hey, you thought in the 1990s that it's the US that is the genuine provider of freedom of speech and all our other freedoms. But in fact, what they do, let's say with political correctness or with some kind of military invasions, they're not really letting other actors do what they like. We are the true Democrats. Well, again, tongue-in-cheek, quotation marks. And we let you speak about anything you would like to speak about on our channel, on RT. And interestingly enough, it's kind of the whole thing about conspiracy theories became kind of part of the agenda that Russian diplomacy is successfully using to sow some distrust within certain national media landscape, like the US, the UK, Germany, Latin America, France. So it's, in that sense, it is a very interesting development to use a little bit of chaos, right, to increase your chances to dominate in this particular on this particular field. But at the same time, again, the media really, the kind of social media really provide great examples for various state and even non-state actors to intervene and actually try to influence people's minds. Think about ISIS. Remember in 2014 how everyone was so concerned about their social media policies? Remember that?
Yeah,
it was
of course.
just amazing. Like there were so many articles about that. So how they intervene, how they brainwash youngsters, how they bring them to Syria, to Iraq. Well, where is ISIS now? But they had their moment, right? So in that sense, kind of, we will increasingly be seeing alternative agenda, also based on misinformation and conspiracy theories, coming up in the moments like the pandemic and conquering people's minds for a short period of time, for a medium length period of time. But this will be happening. And because this, in a way, this is part of our new media reality, global media reality. It's more real than we thought 5-10 years ago.
Of course, because the spreading is quite developing in a different on the different level. My last question, Ilya, especially because both of us are professors, no, and just a message for our students. Do you think we can develop, especially in the among young people, an antibodies against conspiracy theory?
It's called critical thinking, and it's the easiest way to develop it is among, let's say, people who graduated from schools, high schools, and people who graduate from universities. So they must kind of elaborate this notion of a reasonable skepticism, but it should be a reasonable skepticism, because unreasonable skepticism brings you to believe in conspiracy theories. On the one hand, they should realize, and that's usually is my message. On the one hand, people should realize that yes, conspiracy theories are natural. They're a natural part of our culture. And the mere fact that you say, I think that was a conspiracy because, doesn't make you a paranoid person, right? But you should always stick to the scenario where conspiracy theories are just one of the options that you should equally investigate to make your own opinion, right? But if you kind of try to find every way to prove that this particular development in politics, this particular event is someone's conspiracy, then you're in trouble, right? And for that, you need to consider conspiracy theories as one of the options, one scenario according things happen, right? But not the major one, not the dominant one. But at the same time, you have to we have to teach our students that, do not take for granted someone's post on Facebook, or if you refer to something, think twice. Think of what you say, because that is kind of one step to be a responsible speaker, to be a responsible opinion maker, right? And again, in the era of social media, every one of us is potentially an opinion maker, right? And we don't really know how a certain post is going to influence someone's opinion, someone's decision. And that's why it makes us kind of academics and university staff much more kind of careful with what we do and what we say and what we write, what we publish. And at the same time, we have to publish as much as possible in open sources so that people could actually read and get access to that. Because when we publish our journal articles and they are closed behind subscription, I don't think it is right. I think it kind of limits the chances for kind of ordinary people to get access to an important knowledge.
Yeah, this is one of the main problem of the academic world, let me
It's
say.
capitalism.
Yeah. This scopus, let me say, SETA that tie has with our papers. But from this point of view, I develop my personal website, and I try to publish pieces of closed articles. So I try to publish some of my academic articles there, because I want to give the possibility to students, our friends, or other people to understand what is going on, because is right. We can study and publish for ourselves or for our small community, our small academic community. And I agree with you regarding your answer that you gave to my last question. And one of the things that I say to my students every time I warn them, look, I'm coming here not to teach or not to school you. I'm trying to give you some knowledge, and I warn them, remember, I do not hold the truth. So my point of view can be my point of view, but please try to look on the other side, of the story. And when you spread some news, please try to investigate till the last moment before to decide to push the button like share, because this is very, very dangerous, especially now with all these influencers that we have, out of nothing, appear like as mushrooms, I say to my students, and it's very dangerous. So Ilya, thank you for this very interesting chat. I discovered some of new things, because I was following you and trying to catch you several months. So thank you for agreeing, because your point of view open in my mind some new doors, for my also academic interest, and also personal interest. So thank you again, Ilya, and
thank you so much.
Yeah. So thank you again to Ilya. Thank you for all of you that are listening to us, and please try to spread this podcast, share this podcast with your friends if it was interesting, and let me say, help you to understand the world of conspiracy theory. Bye.